All right, I'm the Flat Rate Master, and today we're talking about service advisors. Do you prefer one with a technician background or a sales background? All right, so last week talked about service managers, service writers, service advisors, and dealing with them when they're rushing. And by the way, both of my service advisors loved that video. So, hope you liked the little editing tricks I did in that video. It was kind of fun to do, but let's get into the subject. I got asked in that video, and I'm sorry I don't remember who asked it, but I thought it was a good question and deserved a video. Do you prefer a service writer with a technician background or a sales background? You want to cut to the chase? I actually prefer a sales background. I know a lot of guys are going to be, I'm going to tell you why in a little bit. Pros and cons of both. A technician background, well, let's be honest, is going to know what you're saying when you tell them this is wrong, whereas a salesman, you're talking, Chinese to them. It is easier to convey concepts to somebody with technical background. On the other side of it, customers don't care. Let's be honest. They don't care about why they need to replace a purge valve. They don't care. They care, is it going to get my light out so I can get my license plate? And how much is it going to cost? That's what they care about. They don't care about your purge valve is sticking open, which is causing, when you fill up your tank, to take those raw fuel gases, put them into your intake, and cause it to run rich or have trouble starting. Hence why your evap system is putting out a large leak code. They don't care. When it comes down to it, all they care about is, will it fix it? And how much does it cost? So a lot of times somebody with a technical background will over-explain the issue. Like I kind of just did. You understand the concept. They don't care. Their eyes are glazing over. They're kind of like, okay, how much does it cost? And will I be able to pass emissions? Getting back to last week's video of being rushed, a former technician is much less likely to overpromise. He's going to come back there and go, oh, he ain't getting it done today. I need to call this customer and let him know. Whereas a straight salesman will, not understand that the engine's still on the ground. It ain't going today. Until they've got some experience, and then they kind of get it. But let's talk about dealing with the customers, building a relationship. Most technicians don't like people. They don't want to talk to them on the phone. They're in that chair up front because they can't do this anymore. Either physically or, they just can't do it anymore. They're having to adapt how they talk to people from a technician point to a salesman point. And a lot of times, most of those technicians don't do real well at the sales aspect of being a service advisor. Let's be honest, it's a sales position. Regardless of whether you're trying to tell them they need a purge valve to fix their check engine light, or trying to upsell timing belt because it's due, or whatever, they are a sales person. They're there to sell your services, hopefully to maintain the vehicle and keep it on the road, but that's their job. And a lot of technicians, which is why I tend to go more towards the sales end of it, do a really bad job at building that relationship with the customer, that trust. Now, some can build a great rapport and they have their customers' trust and they're good at it. But a vast majority of them are not. Most of the time when I've had a former technician as a service writer, I have fought them more than any other service writer. Why? They're questioning my diagnosis, even though I have documented every bit of the diagnosis. I've had a former technician service writer come back and go, well, when I called the dealer, they said they don't sell many of those, so it's probably not that problem. Well, guess what? I don't care. I diagnosed it. You've got the documentation that says how I diagnosed it, how I came to that conclusion. I don't care what the parts guy says. And in that case, yes, it fixed the car. I was right. But that's one of my issues, is they generally are more argumentative towards a diagnosis than a salesman. A salesperson is more inclined to actually believe your long list of tests that you did versus a technician who comes in going, well, in my mind, it's this. You sure it's not this? The two I saw 2 years ago, it was this. That's one of my issues with technician turned service writer, is sometimes there's a reason they're a service writer instead of a technician. All right, I'll tell a story. When I was working at a Goodyear many years ago, we had a technician service writer who used to be an alignment tech. Had a Jeep Wrangler come in pre-OBD2 with a misfire, dead misfire. And I had crossed my T's, dotted my I's. I had done a compression test. I tested for spark. I'd swapped the spark plugs. Still had a dead miss. I checked the injector. I had pulse, but the injector was not clicking. Okay, I've got a bad injector. I'd spent my hour, I was done, needed an injector. So I go up front, here, this Jeep needs an injector. Oh no, it can't be an injector. Customer just put injectors in the car. It can't be an injector. You need to go back and figure out what's wrong with that car. I told him, I've got $100 that says it's an injector. Get me an injector. So he's like, fine. Got an injector in, popped it in, guess what? Purred like a kitten. Test drove it, pulled it in, handed the keys to him, and yeah, never got my $100. But good example of some of the issues you can have with a technician that turned service writer is sometimes they've got preconceived notions that just don't work. You did the testing and you should be right. Now, on the sales end of it, let's talk some of their cons. The sales guy, gal, if a customer asks hard questions, they're going to have trouble actually answering them. Customers going on forums and beating them up on, the diagnosis. Are you sure about this? Why aren't you check this? They're not going to have answers. A good service writer will go, hang on a second, let me talk to my technician and I'll get back to you. But it can cause a less than honest service writer to just BS. And hopefully you don't have one of those. I know I don't. I get when they're kind of up against a wall, they come ask me a lot of questions. So I know they don't BS, they just come ask me or the other technicians. But that is one issue, is they can just go, woo, I don't have a clue, so let me BS my way out of it. Another con is, well, they don't understand what you do. And they don't understand that sometimes you can't get a job done in book time. They can't understand, the idiosyncrasies of fixing cars for a living. So there can be some of that drama. Some of the other issues are simply they don't understand how hard our job is sometimes. Why didn't you get this car diagnosed in an hour? Because, etc. Or, why is this job taking so long? All that kind of stuff. It's really easy for those who don't understand something to degrade it. Another example of that is diag fees. A lot of times salespeople have a hard time asking for diagnosis fees. Why? Because they don't understand what we do. They don't understand the equipment we have to have. They don't understand the training we have to have. You know, in some of their minds, we plug up our scan tool, it tells us what part to replace. And I know some guys, that's what they do, but that's a whole nother video. And so a lot of times it's harder for them to sell time to diagnose something, or especially sell more time. That's some of the issues. But again, my personal preference is I'd rather have a good salesman than a guy with a lot of technical knowledge. Technical knowledge is great until he talks the customer out of repairing it because he sat there and told him how a purge valve works for 20 minutes. And the customer's like, are you talking stupid to me? Because I don't care. That's one of the things that you have to learn in this business. Only certain few number of customers care about that. 99% of them, will it fix my issue? And how much? A good salesman, technician or otherwise, won't get in the way of that. They will explain what repairs need to be done, what repairs need to be recommended, how much it's going to cost. You have to put it in the customer's hands. They're the ones that are spending the money. It's their car. They have to come off the money, no matter what it is. You know, whether it's an air filter or an engine. It's their money, it's their decision. Don't, as a sales advisor, you can't get in their way. You have to inform them of the issue, give them the price, and let them make their choice. Hope you liked this video. Probably a little long. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, maybe you disagree with me, give me a thumbs down. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. And as always, thanks for watching. I am the Flat Rate Master.